Alright, welcome back, guys. This is Central Florida Prepper, and I'm Dirty. So today, I'm going to be video recording what we have for our solar panel. Like I said in the past, we have an independent system, standalone system. We do not have our solar panels power supply tied into the grid at all. Our solar system is completely off grid. Our house is not completely off grid, but our panel system is. The reason why, besides the fact that I don't know squat about electricity, and I know I'll fry myself if I try to hook up to our panel box, my fears of having a solar system tied into the grid is that all the research I've done, an EMP, electromagnetic pulse, is so fast and is amplified so much when it starts running down power lines. The power lines work as an antenna, basically. When it runs into your house, it will fry anything that's hooked up. Okay, so I've seen people talk about surge protectors. Now they do make, I've seen them on the market, EMP proof surge protectors. Personally, I can't say that they work, I can't say that they don't. I've never purchased one. They might work, I don't know. I used to put all my electronics in Faraday cages, stuff. You know, of course we use electronics here at the house a lot, but our duplicates we keep stored. From my understanding and research, anything that's hooked up to the grid is going to get fried. Now that's not just with a EMP, that's also with a coronal mass ejection. Hey look, we got a couple of them going off right now. Luckily they are low storms as far as the strength level. So we are very fortunate on that one. But we do have a lot of CMEs popping off at the earth here lately. I guess it's always been like that. But yeah, we try to protect as much of our electronics as we can. Now this video, one of our subscribers interested in solar and had some questions on it. Like I said, me personally, we don't tie into the grid. I know some states charge you a solar tax if you use solar panels. Luckily, as far as I know, Florida doesn't. If they tried to, I think I will be fighting tooth and nails on that one. I mean, how do you charge somebody for the sun? But now in Arizona, I got a ticket for collecting rainwater on my property. Said that I didn't own the rainwater. They needed it for their aquifer. It's just a big scam, especially when you found out that Arizona was trucking water from the aquifer to Nevada and selling it, lining their own pockets. But now if I collect my own rainwater for my gardens and stuff like that, and when I lived out in Arizona, I get a ticket. Corruption? Oh yeah. Yeah. State level corruption's probably worse than federal corruption. Just my thoughts on things. Maybe it's just because we deal more with state than we do deal with federal. As a individual, as a citizen, you're usually dealing with state, city laws, county laws. You see the corruption there more often than you do federal. But anyway, so I'm going to tie this in with what we have set up. I got one of my old fans out there and plug it in and everything and turn it on just using the sun. Alright, here we go. This is our standalone system for our solar. As you can see, one of the batteries are not hooked up. The EverStart Marine gave up the ghost on us. I have not tossed that one out. I'm actually going to put that in my shed for now. I'm going to take it apart and keep the lead that's in there. I know I'm a weird guy. I'm not a hoarder, but I do see the potential of having lead. But yeah, I think a cell had dropped in it. It just won't keep charged. It won't even charge up. It just shot. I've had that thing for years, and it finally just quit on us. So right now we are down to 3 batteries. The gray one here is a gel battery. The 2 black ones are a sealed, I believe it's acid. The 2 right here on the right, the black ones, are the Harbor Freights. I think I paid $60 for them. We had actually bought one when we first started out. Oh yeah, it's a little piece of foam. Not necessary. So yeah, we had purchased one to begin with, and it just wasn't enough. When I first started solar, I didn't really know much of anything. I saw a couple YouTube videos and kind of learned from there. I am no expert. I'm just showing you what has worked for me and what I've learned in the process. So then we went and bought a second one, and it helped out. We used to take it on when we had our last extended camping trip. We had both of those, and we ran our fans and our LED light system. We didn't have no problem at all out there in the woods. But for the house, and we wanted to keep building on, we went ahead and purchased the gel. I actually got this secondhand. If I remember correctly, I purchased it on, it wasn't Let Go, it was the Facebook app where people in the area have things to sell. I can't remember the name of that thing now. Y'all probably know what I'm talking about. But I bought that gel for $15, I believe. So I'm probably gonna try to find it again, see if I can get a couple more. So we have our standalone battery bank. Now when our panels charge, it'll go to our charge controller here. Right now our sun charge is 13.2. Our panel is going to our batteries, and from there we've got our batteries tied in here. They run in and they'll start charging up our batteries. Now when you hook these up, I'll hook these up in line, so I've got all my hots connected and all my ground connected. The reason why is because most of my equipment I'll be running that is DC is 12 volt. Like our inverters are 12 volt inverters, they're not 24 volt inverters. So I don't want to do the, run it in parallel or series. I forget which one of the two they call it. I just run this simple system, keeps it 12 volts, but it adds all my amperage up, so I don't fry my 12 volt inverter. Now I pulled out the little Harbor Freight Syntec. This is the 400 watt. I think it's a 700 watt max. We've had used this one on camping trips. With everything going on with the geomagnetic storms this week, even though I know that they are low storms, I'm not getting my expensive inverter out for the video. So if something happens while I'm doing the video, I'm good to go. I'm only out $40. So I am going to hook this up, and I'm going to run some of our usual appliances here. So bear with me. Okay, so I've got a bright light right there. Let's see if I can turn that so it's not so bright. Got our fan going. Currently we're at 12.7. Alright, now I can run this fan without the light, but I can run this fan because usually we use our LED light system, and I can run this fan in 2 other fans in the house, well, when I had that battery, for almost 8 hours. During the daytime, I can run it all day as long as it's sunny outside. It won't even tap the battery banks at all. Now, this light here is a little LED. I rigged up. This was actually one that you actually put into the ceiling, and I actually just stuck an extension cord on it. I like this because it's like a 60-watt bulb, but it only draws 10 watts of power. So we actually had picked up a couple of these. I actually use this when I do my videos for YouTube, for my background lights and stuff like that. It actually worked really nice. Yeah, we're still at 12.7. Alright, so let me go and shut this down. And this isn't the best inverter. We had purchased this originally when we first got started, and like I said, we take it camping all the time. I used to do a lot of survival camping, very essential. Basically, I'd make my own shelter when I was younger. Now that I'm married, we go glamping. Fans, light, things like that. Well, you know, nothing wrong with that, but you know, it's just gotta keep the wife happy. Alright, let me talk about some of these power, how I got these things hooked up. My inverter, my hot, runs to this hot terminal. It's the furthest away. I mean, it's the closest to the inverter. Alright. Now my grounds also my solar is also hooked up to the same terminal. My grounds for my solar and inverter is hooked up to the furthest ground terminal. The reason why, and I found out what works best, when you do this, when the power comes in, it charges the whole system. Okay? Before, I'd always hook up on just one battery, and it would charge that battery and slowly bleed into the other two. It just wasn't getting the charge I wanted at the time. So I found that if I hook up separately, it actually charges and draws a lot even, and the batteries last longer. Unfortunately, that one there, it's just an old battery. I think the date is, yeah, 210. I got 9 years out of it. Not too bad. A little over 9 years. Alright, so I'm going to stop this here and meet y'all inside. Alright guys, we're back in the air condition, which is awesome. Now, I've had questions about whether or not everybody should hook up to the grid with their solar. I know that some states will pay you for the excess power you generate. You can make a little money. Me personally, we're not going to do that. Alright, we got a small solar system. We only got a couple hundred watts. Even when I purchase a larger one when we go to Wyoming, whenever we finally get there, well, it would be completely off grid out there. We'll be using wind and also solar out there, because it's pretty windy out there. I worked out in Wyoming. Anyway, losing my train of thought here, I apologize. I get asked that a lot about, well, why not hook up to the power grid and sell it back? The reason why we do not hook up to the power grid is because, from my understanding and research done with EMP and CMEs, anything hooked up to the grid, when either of these two happen, electromagnetic pulse or coronal mass ejection, the transmission lines, the power lines, yada yada yada, works as an amplified antenna and sends a stronger charge through. So when you have your system hooked into it, it's gonna fry it. I mean, just you're done. Now, as you saw, my inverter charge controller I have is not EMP or CME safe. It's out in the open. This is true. Now I have backups in my Faraday cages. Okay, I also have backup solar. Now my panels, from my research, will be just fine because my panels are bare panels. There's no relays. There's nothing. It's just the panel connected to wires that run to the charge controller. There is nothing in it to burn out. No electronics. The charge controller is done if something happens. The inverter that is sitting outside is done if something happens. The batteries will be fine. From all the research I've done, the batteries they'll be fine. Now hooked up onto a grid, I can't guarantee that the batteries won't blow up. Okay, that's a huge charge. People always say, well, they always ask, what about surge protectors? Your normal surge protectors, they won't work. An EMP pulse is so fast, it actually passed that surge protector before it has time to even trip. Same with your fuse box, things like that in your home. Now I have seen EMP protected surge protector, EMP proof surge protectors. I don't know if they work. Have never purchased them. I haven't really done a lot of research into them. I just know that they're not cheap. Okay, and I hate to sound like the guy that always shops at the dollar store. I do shop at the dollar store a lot, but not for essential tools. I mean, like when I buy my tools, I make sure I buy good quality tools. That way they last. I've worked with tools my whole life. You gotta have good tools. I'm getting off track again. Okay, so we will not be using our solar connected to any grid for those reasons. One, they're just going to get fried. Alright, it's not a chance, even if I'm wrong, okay, let's say that there's a percentage that I could be wrong. It's not a chance I'm willing to take. Solar is not cheap. Okay, by the time you start buying your battery banks, well, even the cables alone, I believe one set of cables, just long enough, if I even cut it in half, and they only sell it one cable at a time, the cheapest I've found. The battery cable was like $13, and I cut it in two. That way I had a positive and a hot. And then I had to buy the terminals, the copper, the brass terminals. They're the brass or copper. I think they're copper. So yeah, it's expensive. So I don't recommend anybody hooking up to the grid just because of EMPs and CMEs. I could be wrong. It's up to you. It really is. These are just my thoughts on it. Okay. I do know that there are some states that will pay you for excess power. I also know there's some states that will charge you a solar tax. Yeah, for using solar. So I don't know how that works. I guess they own the sun. I don't know. Okay, it's retarded sometimes, the shit they come up with. Alright, so hopefully this helps with the standalone solar systems like what we use here at the house. And you can build on these things. You can build a massive battery bank. You can get a much nicer inverters. Like I said, our really nice inverters I keep in Faraday cages because they're there for when I need them. I don't want them hooked up right now. If something happens and I'm just screwed and I'm just stuck using a 400 watt. Now, would a 400 watt be great if there's no electricity? Absolutely. Okay. Here in Florida it gets so freaking hot. Having a way to cool off your house is going to be great. But having a larger inverter, I'm able to be able to keep my refrigerator running, which means my food stocks will have a longer life. Okay, when it comes down to hunting, fishing, things like that, let's say you're fishing and you come up with a mess of 30-some brim. I mean, personally, since I've gotten fat, I probably can eat 30-some brim. But being able to cool off food and eat to a later time, be even better. Especially being able to use the freezer part. So there's some things to think of. Hopefully this video was informative for you. As always, please put down your comments. Let me know what type of systems you have, okay? Or systems that you're looking into. I might have some insight. Odds are I might not. Alright? I never said I had all the answers. Most of the things I talk about is my thoughts and what research I've done. So please leave your comments. And don't forget to hit that like button. And I will see y'all sometime next week, unless something major happens and then I've got to get a video out. Till then, y'all take care. Enjoy your weekend.